We don't serve your kind here. Jaden Brooks's voice cut through the lunch chatter at Meridian Bistro. He dramatically stepped back from Deshawn, covering his nose with his hand as if avoiding a foul odor. "McDonald's is across the street," he announced loudly, making exaggerated shooing motions with both hands. "That's more your budget and social class, don't you think?" He then sprayed disinfectant in a wide circle around where Deshawn stood, creating a visible barrier. The elderly white couple at table 11 applauded softly. A teenage girl in the corner booth raised her phone, Instagram Live already streaming. Deshawn Williams, 43 years old in a $3,000 tailored suit, remained perfectly still. Not a muscle in his face betrayed emotion. Have you ever been treated like you were invisible, contaminated, simply because of how you looked? 45 minutes until the board meeting begins. Deshawn's phone buzzed silently in his jacket pocket. The notification read, "Williams Holdings, board meeting reminder." He declined the call without looking at the screen. "Excuse me," he said quietly, his voice carrying the measured tone of someone accustomed to boardrooms. "I'd like to speak with your manager." Jaden's laugh was theatrical, designed for the audience now openly staring from surrounding tables. "The manager? Buddy, you're about to be escorted out by security." Karen Martinez appeared within seconds, summoned by Jaden's theatrical wave. Her 40-something frame moved with the aggressive confidence of middle management. She sized up Deshawn with practiced contempt. "What's the situation here?" she asked Jaden, as if Deshawn weren't standing directly in front of her. "Vagrant situation," Jaden replied. "Claims he wants to eat here. I explained our standards." Karen's eyes traveled from Deshawn's Italian leather shoes to his Hermes tie. Her expression shifted briefly, confusion flickering across her features before hardening into administrative authority. "Sir," she addressed Deshawn with the tone reserved for difficult customers, "this is a $200 per person establishment. Perhaps you're lost?" The teenage girl's live stream viewer count climbed steadily. 50 viewers. 100. Comments began flooding the screen. "Yo, this restaurant is wild. Someone call the news. What's the restaurant name?" Deshawn reached into his jacket and placed a $500 cash tip on the table. The bills fanned out in crisp hundreds. "For the inconvenience," he said simply. Karen stared at the money, her certainty wavering. How did you—" "Ma'am," interrupted the security guard jogging over from the entrance. Marcus Thompson, 6'3" and built like a linebacker, had worked security for 3 years. His approach was professional but firm. "Is there a problem here?" "Remove this individual," Karen commanded, regaining her composure. "He's disrupting our lunch service." Marcus hesitated. Something about the scene felt wrong. The man in question stood perfectly still, radiating calm authority. The expensive suit wasn't a costume. The tailoring was too precise, the fabric too fine. The watch glinting on his wrist was a Patek Philippe, worth more than Marcus's annual salary. "Sir," Marcus began carefully, "I'm going to need you to—" "Actually," Deshawn interrupted softly, "I'm going to need to use your restroom first." Jaden stepped forward aggressively. "Facilities are for paying customers only." The live stream viewer count hit 300. Comments accelerated. "This is 2/25. How is this happening?" "Restaurant name, someone drop it." "I'm shaking, this is so wrong." Deshawn's phone buzzed again. This time, the screen was visible to Marcus. "Williams Holdings, urgent, board meeting in 30 minutes. Marcus froze. Williams Holdings. He'd heard that name somewhere. "Look, buddy," Jaden continued, emboldened by Karen's support. "We both know you can't afford this place. Stop wasting our time with the expensive suit act." An elderly white woman at table 7 clutched her Chanel purse tighter and whispered to her companion, "I knew something was off." The manager of the wine bar next to their table leaned over conspiratorially. Finally, someone maintaining proper standards. Deshawn placed his Platinum American Express black card invitation only. No preset spending limit next to the cash. The distinctive Centurion logo caught the light. Karen's eyes widened. She'd worked in upscale dining for 15 years. She knew that card. Fewer than 1% of Americans qualified for invitation. "This is," she stammered. "Fake," Jaden declared confidently. "They make convincing replicas now." But Marcus had stepped closer, reading the name embossed on the card. His face drained of color as recognition hit him like a freight train. Deshaun Williams, owner of Williams Holdings, owner of the restaurant chain that employed them all. "Mr. Marcus began, then stopped himself. Deshaun met his eyes with the slightest nod. Not yet. The live stream reached 500 viewers. The teenage girl whispered excitedly to her phone, "Y'all, this is about to get crazy." Karen grabbed the card, examining it under the light. The holographic security features were genuine. The platinum weight was authentic, but admitting a mistake now would mean professional humiliation. "These can be sophisticated forgeries," she announced to the gathering crowd. "Sir, I'm calling the police. You're trespassing on private property." Deshaun's expression never changed. "That's your choice, Karen. But you might want to reconsider." The use of her name stopped her cold. How did he know her name? She wasn't wearing a name tag. "How do you—"
30 minutes, Deshaun said quietly, checking his watch. "That's all the time we have." The countdown had begun. 30 minutes until the board meeting. The live stream viewer count exploded past 800. Comments flooded the screen faster than anyone could read them. "Meridian Bistro, I found the restaurant." "Someone screen record this. This man is too calm, something's up." Karen's hand trembled slightly as she dialed 911. "Yes, we have a trespassing situation at Meridian Bistro downtown. Black male, approximately 40, refusing to leave." Deshaun remained motionless, his breathing steady and controlled. Years of hostile boardrooms had taught him the power of silence. Let them dig their own graves. "Did you hear that?" Jaden announced to the dining room. "Police are coming. Show's over, buddy." The restaurant had been divided into two camps. Tables 1 through 6 older, whiter, wealthier nodded approval. The younger diners, including 2 black couples near the window, filmed with expressions of horror and fascination. Marcus shifted uncomfortably. The name on that credit card kept echoing in his mind. Williams Holdings. Where had he heard it? Company newsletter? Employee handbook? "Ma'am," he said quietly to Karen, "maybe we should—" "Should what?" she snapped. "Let people think they can waltz in here and intimidate us? This establishment has standards, Marcus. Standards that built our reputation." A white businessman in his 50s stood up from table 12. "Excuse me, is there a problem? My wife and I are trying to enjoy our anniversary lunch." "No problem, sir," Karen replied smoothly. "Just removing an unwelcome guest." The man glanced at Deshaun, taking in the tailored suit, the confident posture, the expensive accessories. Something didn't compute. "He doesn't look like—" "Appearances can be deceiving," Jaden interrupted with a smirk. "Designer knockoffs are everywhere now." Deshaun's phone buzzed. The caller ID was visible to Marcus. "Board chair, Margaret Carter." Deshaun declined the call without hesitation. The teenage live streamer caught it. "Chat, did y'all see that? Someone important is calling him." Her follower count had jumped to 1,500. The comments section had become a battlefield. This restaurant is about to get destroyed online. How is this legal in 2025? That man's energy is different. Why he's so calm, though? A middle-aged black woman at table 8 stood up abruptly. "This is disgusting," she announced. "Thomas, we're leaving." Her husband hesitated, then nodded. They walked past Deshaun, the woman pausing to whisper, "I'm sorry this is happening to you." "Thank you," Deshaun replied quietly, "but it's not necessary." Karen intercepted them at the host stand. "Folks,
Please don't let this disruption affect your dining experience. We'll have this resolved momentarily. Resolved? The woman's voice carried across the restaurant. By humiliating a paying customer, we won't be back. They left, and with them went $200 in revenue and a Yelp review that would go viral within hours. The domino effect had begun. Another couple young professionals, mixed race, signaled for their check. Then a family with teenage children. The dining room, packed 20 minutes ago, was slowly emptying. Karen watched her lunch rush dissolve and her anger intensified. "See what you're doing?" she hissed at Deshawn. "You're costing us business." "I'm standing here quietly," he replied. "How am I costing you business?" Jaden laughed harshly. "By not knowing your place." The words hung in the air like poison gas. Even some of the remaining white diners looked uncomfortable. Marcus stepped forward. "Jaden, that's enough." "Enough!" Jaden's voice rose. "This guy walks in here with fake cards and an attitude, disrupts our service, and I'm the problem?" An elderly white woman at table 7 whispered loud enough for everyone to hear, "In my day, people knew their proper place in society." Her companion nodded sagely. "Some folks just need boundaries explained to them." The teenage live streamer's eyes lit up. "Oh my God, chat, did y'all hear that? The audacity!" The viewer count climbed past 2,000. Screenshots of the restaurant's interior flooded social media. Within minutes, someone had posted the restaurant's phone number, address, and Yelp page. Deshawn's phone rang again. This time he answered. "Deshawn Williams." The name hit Marcus like lightning. His memory snapped into focus. The Employee Handbook, page 3. Williams Holdings, founded 1987 by Deshawn Williams, CEO and primary shareholder. Current portfolio, 47 restaurants, 12 hotels, 6 entertainment venues. His boss. His boss's boss's boss. Marcus's hand moved instinctively toward Deshawn, but stopped. Not yet. There was a reason Mr. Williams hadn't revealed himself. "I understand," Deshawn said into the phone. "Push the meeting back 15 minutes. Something requires my immediate attention." He ended the call and looked directly at Karen. 15 minutes, that's all I need." The live stream hit 3,000 viewers. The teenager could barely contain her excitement. "Y'all, this is better than Netflix. Something big is about to happen." Police sirens wailed in the distance, growing closer. Karen smiled triumphantly. "Perfect timing." A waiter from the kitchen emerged, curious about the commotion. "What's happening out here?" "Teaching someone a lesson about boundaries," Jaden replied smugly. 2 officers entered, one white, mid-30s, the other Latina, early 40s. They approached with professional caution. "We received a trespassing complaint," the white officer said. "That's right," Karen confirmed. "This individual is refusing to leave private property." The Latina officer studied Deshawn. Something about his demeanor completely relaxed despite the circumstances raised questions. "Sir, what's your side of the story?" "I attempted to dine here," Deshawn replied calmly. "I was refused service and asked to leave. I'm happy to comply with your request." "See?" Jaden interjected. "He admits it. Trespassing." But the officer wasn't satisfied. "Ma'am," she addressed Karen, "what was the reason for refusing service?" Karen hesitated. The real reason, racial discrimination, would destroy her career. "He was disruptive." "Disruptive how?" The question hung in the air. The live stream audience leaned in, sensing blood in the water. Karen faltered. "He made other customers uncomfortable." "By existing while black?" The black woman who'd left earlier had returned, standing in the doorway with her husband and phone recording. "Because that's what we witnessed." The white officer looked around the nearly empty restaurant, then at Deshawn's expensive attire, then at the platinum card still lying on the table. Multiple phones were now recording from different angles. The story was being documented from every perspective. "Sir," he said to Deshawn, "do you have identification?" Deshawn reached into his jacket and produced a leather wallet. From it, he withdrew a driver's license and something else, a business card that made Marcus's heart stop. Deshawn Williams, Chief Executive Officer, Williams Holdings. The officer examined both items. His expression shifted subtly. The moment of reckoning was seconds away. 15 minutes until the board meeting. The officer held Deshawn's business card up to the light, examining the embossed lettering. His partner leaned over, reading the corporate logo that matched the napkins scattered across nearby tables. Williams Holdings, CEO. Deshawn Williams. "Ma'am," the white officer said slowly to Karen, "I think we need to discuss this privately." "There's nothing to discuss," Karen insisted, but her voice had lost its edge. "He's trespassing." The Latina officer's eyes moved between Deshawn's identification and the restaurant's corporate branding visible throughout the establishment. "Sir," she addressed Deshawn, "can you verify your employment with this company?" Deshawn reached into his jacket again, this time producing a leather portfolio with gold embossing. He opened it carefully, revealing documents that made Marcus step closer despite himself. Corporate letterhead, Williams Holdings Board of Directors, annual revenue reports showing $127 million, and there, on the signature line of every document, Deshawn Williams, Chief Executive Officer. "Holy shit," whispered the teenager, streaming live. "Chad, I think this dude owns this place." The viewer count exploded past 5,000. Comments flew across the screen. "No way, no way, no way. Plot twist of the century. Karen is about to get fired." Karen snatched the documents from Deshawn's hands, scanning them frantically. The corporate seal was authentic. The financial statements were current. The ownership structure was clear. Williams Holdings owned 73% of Meridian Restaurant Group, which owned Meridian Bistro. "This is impossible," she breathed. Jaden looked over her shoulder, his smugness evaporating as he read the documents. "That can't be real. You're telling me this guy owns the restaurant," Deshawn finished quietly. "Owns this entire chain, actually." The dining room fell silent except for the soft pinging of phones recording from every angle. Marcus felt his knees weaken. 3 years of employment. 3 years of thinking his boss was some distant corporate figure. And here he was, having almost physically removed the man who signed his paychecks. "Mr. Williams," Marcus stammered, "I am so sorry, I had no idea." "Of course you didn't," Deshawn replied calmly. "That was rather the point." The white officer cleared his throat. "Ma'am, I think we can consider this matter resolved." "Resolved?" Karen's voice pitched higher. "You can't just, these documents could be forged." The Latina officer pulled out her phone and performed a quick Google search. Within seconds, she found the Williams Holdings corporate website. The executive team page loaded, displaying professional headshots. Deshawn Williams, Chief Executive Officer, the same face looking back at her from the identification card. She showed the screen to her partner, who nodded grimly. "Ma'am," the white officer said to Karen, "I strongly suggest you reconsider your position here." But Karen was spiraling. Her 15-year career in hospitality management was collapsing in real time. Even if this is real, he was disrupting our service, making customers uncomfortable. By attempting to eat lunch, Deshawn observed. The teenage live streamer was practically vibrating with excitement. "Y'all, this is the most insane thing I've ever seen. The owner got refused service at his own restaurant." Her viewer count hit 8,000. Local news outlets were already sliding into her DMs, requesting permission to use her footage. Meanwhile, other customers were capturing the scene from multiple angles. A young professional woman at table 9 had been recording since the police arrived. An elderly gentleman near the window was live streaming to his Facebook followers. The incident was being documented from every possible perspective. The remaining restaurant staff emerged from the kitchen, drawn by the commotion. 3 waiters, 2 cooks, and a busboy stood in stunned silence as they recognized their ultimate boss from the corporate website photos. "Jesus Christ," muttered Sarah, a veteran waitress who'd worked there 2 years. "That's really him." "Who?" asked Miguel, the newest hire. "Our CEO," Sarah whispered. "The guy who owns everything." Word spread through the kitchen staff like wildfire. The dishwasher pulled out his phone and began recording. The sous chef stood frozen with a spatula in his hand. The hostess, who'd called in sick that morning, would later thank God for her good fortune. Jaden, meanwhile, had gone completely pale. 3 months of employment, 3 months of steady income in a tough job market, all about to disappear because he'd been too arrogant to question his assumptions. "Sir," he began desperately. "Mr. Williams, I sincerely apologize. This was all a misunderstanding." "Was it?" Deshawn's voice remained level, controlled. "You told me to try McDonald's, that it was more my budget and social level. Which part was misunderstood?" The questions hung in the air like accusations. Several remaining diners had pulled out their phones, adding their own recordings to the growing digital archive. A well-dressed white woman at table 4 suddenly stood up. "I think there's been a terrible mistake," she announced loudly. "I never supported any of this discrimination." Her companion looked confused. "But Martha, you said he looked suspicious." "I said nothing," she hissed, grabbing her purse. "We're leaving." But their conversation had been captured on multiple live streams. Screenshots were already circulating on social media, complete with their faces and names. The internet's collective memory was unforgiving. The exodus accelerated. Customers who'd nodded approvingly 20 minutes earlier now couldn't escape fast enough. But the digital evidence was permanent. Every supportive nod, every whispered comment, every complicit smile had been recorded from multiple angles. Deshawn watched them go with the detached interest of a scientist observing lab rats. Interesting how quickly solidarity evaporates when consequences appear. Karen made one last desperate attempt at damage control. "Mr. Williams, if you really are who you claim to be, surely you understand we were just maintaining our establishment standards." "Standards," Deshawn repeated thoughtfully. "Let's discuss those standards, Karen." He opened his portfolio again, this time revealing employee handbooks and corporate policies. The documents were worn from use, annotated with handwritten notes. This wasn't a prop, this was a working CEO's reference material. Section 4.2 of your employment contract, which you signed 6 months ago, immediate termination for discriminatory conduct based on race, religion, national origin, or protected class status. Karen's face went white. "That's not what happened here." 8,000 people watching the live stream would disagree. The teenager held up her phone triumphantly. "That's right, and we got receipts." Social media was exploding. Meridian Bistro was trending in 3 cities. Karen. Martinez and hashtag Jaden Brooks were becoming hashtags. Screenshots of their faces during the confrontation were spreading across platforms faster than they could be deleted. Deshawn continued methodically. Section 7.1. All customers shall be served without regard to race, ethnicity, or perceived socioeconomic status. Section 12.4. Employees engaging in discriminatory behavior will be terminated without severance or reference. He flipped through more pages, revealing detailed anti-discrimination policies, customer service standards, and corporate values statements. Every page was professionally bound, legally vetted, and officially adopted. Page 47, he continued, outlines the company's zero-tolerance policy for racial profiling. Page 53 details the reporting procedures for discriminatory incidents. Page 61 explains the legal consequences for employees who violate these policies. Jaden was now visibly shaking. "Mr. Williams, please, I made a mistake." "You made a choice," Deshawn corrected. "Multiple choices, in fact. Each one is documented by social media. The police officers exchanged glances. This was no longer a criminal matter. This was a corporate reckoning. "Officers," Deshawn said politely, "thank you for your professionalism. As you can see, this is now an internal personnel matter." The white officer nodded. "We'll file this as a civil dispute resolved on scene." As the police prepared to leave, the Latina officer paused beside Deshawn. "Sir, for what it's worth, what happened here was wrong. I'm glad you had the resources to address it." "Not everyone does," Deshawn replied quietly. "That's why it's important to document everything." After the officers left, the restaurant felt cavernous. Most customers had fled, but the digital audience continued growing. The live stream viewer count had peaked at 12,000 before stabilizing around 9,000 active viewers. Local news vans were already pulling up outside. Reporters were setting up cameras on the sidewalk. The story was spreading beyond social media into traditional media coverage. Marcus stood frozen near the entrance, uncertain whether to approach his boss or run for the exit. His phone buzzed with text messages from friends who'd seen the live stream. "Dude, is that your restaurant? Are you there right now? Is your boss really that racist?" Karen clutched the employment documents, reading and rereading the termination clauses as if they might change through sheer willpower. Her hands shook as she realized the full scope of her situation. This wasn't just losing a job, this was career destruction broadcast live to thousands of people. Jaden had slumped into a chair, the reality of his situation finally sinking in. His phone buzzed with notifications. Friends were tagging him in social media posts. His face was appearing in memes. His name was trending alongside words like racist and fired. And Deshawn Williams stood in the center of it all, checking his watch with the same calm precision he'd maintained throughout the ordeal. 12 minutes until my board meeting," he announced to the room. "Which means we have 12 minutes to resolve this situation." The teenage live streamer whispered into her phone, "Chat, this is about to get real." The viewer count began climbing again. Word was spreading across social media platforms. Hashtag Meridian Bistro was trending nationally. Screenshots of the confrontation flooded Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. News outlets were picking up the story. Local television stations interrupted regular programming with breaking news alerts. The incident was becoming a case study in real-time public accountability. "Mr. Williams," Karen began one final time, "surely we can work something out. I've been with this company for 6 months, Deshawn interrupted, consulting the documents, "during which you've received 5 customer complaints about discriminatory treatment of minority patrons." Karen's mouth fell open. "How do you... Those complaints were confidential." "I receive copies of all customer complaints company-wide," Deshawn explained patiently. "Did you think corporate policies existed for decoration?" The full scope of her situation was becoming clear. This wasn't just about today's incident. This was about a pattern of behavior that had been building for months. "Jaden Brooks," Deshawn continued, turning his attention to the waiter. 3 months employed, 2 customer complaints about attitude problems with black diners, 1 written warning for inappropriate comments about Hispanic customers. Jaden looked like he might vomit. "I never meant..." "You meant exactly what you said and did," Deshawn replied. "The question now is what we do about it." The live stream audience was captivated. Comments streamed past. "Drag them, King. This is justice. Best plot twist ever. That man is too powerful." Deshawn closed his portfolio and looked around the nearly empty restaurant. 9,000 people are watching this conversation live. Millions more will see recordings within hours." He paused, letting the weight of that reality settle. "The question isn't whether your actions were wrong. The question is what kind of establishment we want to be going forward." The moment of judgment had arrived. 5 minutes until the board meeting starts. Deshawn's phone buzzed with an incoming call. Board Chair Margaret Carter appeared on the screen. This time he answered. Margaret, I need 5 more minutes. Deshawn, the investors are getting restless. The quarterly review. We'll wait, he said firmly. I'm handling a situation that requires immediate attention. A situation that could cost us significantly more than a delayed meeting. He ended the call and turned his attention back to the room. 9,000 live stream viewers. Trending hashtags. News vans outside. The corporate crisis was escalating by the minute. Karen Martinez, he began, opening a different section of his portfolio. Annual salary, $68,000. This restaurant's monthly revenue, $190,000. Daily operating costs, $6,300. Karen stared at him, confused by the sudden focus on numbers. Do you understand what those figures mean? Deshawn continued. No, sir. They mean that every day this restaurant operates with discriminatory practices, we risk losing everything. He pulled out a tablet and began displaying data. Average discrimination lawsuit settlement, $75,000. Legal fees, additional $50,000. Reputation damage, incalculable. The live stream audience was eating it up. Comments flooded past. He's destroying them with facts. CEO mode activated. This man came with receipts and math. Jaden Brooks. Deshawn turned to the trembling waiter. Your hourly wage, $18. Cost of training your replacement, $800. Cost of this public relations disaster, potentially millions. Jaden's voice cracked. Mr. Williams, please. Let me show you something, Deshawn interrupted, pulling up social media on his tablet. Your name is currently trending on 3 platforms. Hashtag Jaden Brooks racist has appeared in over 2,000 posts in the last 30 minutes. He showed the screen to the room. Screenshots of Jaden's discriminatory comments were being shared alongside his photo, his social media profiles, even his high school graduation picture. The internet never forgets, Jaden. This will follow you to every job interview, every background check, every Google search of your name for the rest of your career. The weight of digital permanence settled over the room like a shroud. Marcus, still standing near the entrance, felt compelled to speak. Mr. Williams, I wanted to apologize for my role in this. I should have questioned what was happening. You should have, Deshawn agreed. But you also showed hesitation. You recognized something was wrong. That matters. He consulted his tablet again. Marcus Thompson, 3 years with our company. Excellent performance reviews. 1 commendation for de-escalating a customer dispute without violence. No discrimination complaints. Marcus felt a wave of relief, followed immediately by guilt for feeling relieved while his colleagues faced termination. However, Deshawn continued, you were prepared to escort a customer out based solely on your colleague's word. What does that tell us about our training procedures? The question wasn't rhetorical. Marcus understood he was being tested. That we need better protocols for verifying complaints, he answered carefully. And maybe cultural sensitivity training. Correct. Deshawn made a note on his tablet. We'll address that company-wide. The teenage live streamer was providing running commentary to her audience. Y'all, this man is teaching while he's getting his justice. This is educational content. Her viewer count had stabilized around 8,000, but screenshots and clips were spreading across multiple platforms. Local news stations were now running the story as breaking news. Deshawn pulled up financial reports on his tablet. Williams Holdings quarterly earnings, $32 million. Meridian Restaurant Group contribution, $8.7 million. This location's annual contribution, $2.3 million. He looked directly at Karen. Your actions today put all of that at risk. Sir, I was just trying to maintain standards. Whose standards? The question cut through her excuse like a blade. According to our customer demographics, 38% of our clientele are minorities. You were willing to alienate 38% of our customer base to enforce... What exactly? Karen had no answer. Let me tell you what I see, Deshawn continued. I see an employee who violated multiple company policies, created a public relations disaster, and exposed us to legal liability, all while being recorded by thousands of people. He pulled up legal documents on his tablet. Section 1981 of the Civil Rights Act. Businesses open to the public cannot discriminate based on race. Violation carries federal penalties. The live stream audience was learning along with the room. Y'all getting a free law lesson. Save this video for business school. This man is educated. Title II of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Deshawn continued, specifically prohibits discrimination in places of public accommodation. Restaurants are explicitly included. He showed the legal text on screen. The Department of Justice can file suit against businesses that engage in discriminatory practices. Fines start at $50,000 per incident. Karen's face had gone completely white. I didn't know. Ignorance of federal law isn't a defense, Deshawn replied. Especially for a manager who signed acknowledgement of our anti-discrimination training. He pulled up her employee file on the tablet. Digital signature dated 6 months ago. Training completion certificate. Legal compliance acknowledgement. The documentation was thorough, leaving no room for denial. Now, Deshawn said, checking his watch, we have 3 minutes to resolve this before my board meeting. Here are your options. The room went silent, except for the soft hum of phones recording. Jaden Brooks, your employment is terminated immediately, for that reason. No severance, no reference, no appeal. You violated federal law while representing our company. Security will escort you from the premises. Jaden opened his mouth to protest, but Deshawn continued. Your final paycheck will include only hours worked through today. Any company property must be returned immediately. Your actions have made you unemployable in hospitality, so I suggest considering alternative career paths. The harshness was necessary. The live stream audience needed to see consequences. Karen Martinez, you have 2 choices. Resign immediately with a neutral reference, or be terminated for cause with notation of discrimination violations in your permanent file. Karen clutched her purse tighter. If I resign, you receive 2 weeks severance and a reference that confirms your employment dates and nothing more. If you're terminated for cause, future employers will be informed of the reasons. That's not fair. Fair? Deshawn's voice remained calm, but the word carried weight. Was it fair to refuse service based on race? Was it fair to call police on a customer for existing while black? Was it fair to humiliate someone in front of 8,000 witnesses? The live stream comments were ruthless. Drag her. She's really going to talk about fair right now? The audacity. You have 30 seconds to decide, Deshawn said, consulting his watch. Karen looked around the room desperately, as if someone might rescue her. But the other employees avoided eye contact. The customers had fled. Even Marcus was studying his shoes. I resign, she whispered. Louder, please, for the cameras. Karen's voice shook. I resign from my position, effective immediately. Accepted. Security will escort you to gather your personal items. Your final paycheck will be processed within 72 hours. Deshawn turned to Marcus. You're now interim manager until we can hire permanent replacement. Your first task is implementing new customer service protocols. Marcus nodded gratefully. Yes, sir. Thank you for the opportunity. Don't thank me yet. You'll be working double shifts until we're fully staffed, and every interaction will be monitored for compliance. The live stream audience was witnessing corporate justice in real time. This is how you handle business. Accountability in action. That man just restructured a whole restaurant in 10 minutes. Deshawn's phone rang. Margaret Carter again. The board meeting starts now, he announced to the room. This restaurant will remain open under new management. New policies will be implemented immediately, and this incident will be used as training material company-wide. He looked directly into the live stream camera. 8,000 people witnessed what happened here today. You documented discrimination, confrontation, and consequences. That documentation will ensure this never happens again. The moment of corporate accountability was complete. Board meeting in progress, via speakerphone. Deshawn placed his phone on the table, switching to speaker mode. Margaret, I'm joining the board meeting from our Meridian Bistro location. We have a situation that requires immediate corporate response. Deshawn, what's going on? Margaret Carter's voice carried across the restaurant. We can hear background noise. I'm currently addressing a discrimination incident that was live-streamed to 8,000 viewers. We need emergency policy implementation across all locations. The remaining restaurant staff gathered closer, understanding they were witnessing history. The teenage live streamer adjusted her phone angle to capture everything. How serious are we talking? Asked board member David Kumar. Federal civil rights violation, terminated 2 employees, trending on social media, news vans outside. Deshawn's voice remained steady. This is a company-wide crisis prevention moment. Marcus stood at attention, notebook ready. The other staff members, Sarah, Miguel, the kitchen crew, formed a semicircle around their new CEO. Effective immediately, Deshawn announced. All Williams Holdings restaurants will implement the following changes. He consulted his tablet while addressing both the board and the live stream audience. First, zero-tolerance discrimination policy with immediate termination. No warnings, no appeals, no exceptions. Period appeared in the live stream comments. This is how you lead a company. Second, mandatory monthly bias training for all employees. Completion tracked digitally. Non-compliance results in suspension without pay. Sarah raised her hand tentatively. Mr. Williams, what kind of training exactly? Cultural sensitivity, implicit bias recognition, conflict de-escalation, and legal compliance. Each module takes 2 hours, completed during paid time. The board member's voice crackled through the speaker. Deshawn, what's the estimated cost for company-wide implementation? Approximately $400,000 annually, he replied without hesitation. The cost of not implementing it? Potentially millions in lawsuits and reputation damage. Third, he continued, customer feedback system with anonymous discrimination reporting. QR codes at every table linking to digital forms. He showed the staff a mock-up on his tablet. Customers can report incidents in real time. Reports go directly to corporate and local management simultaneously. Miguel, the newest hire, looked nervous. What if someone makes false accusations? All reports are investigated thoroughly. Security cameras, witness statements, employee records. False accusations are rare when people know they're being recorded. The live stream audience was engaged. This man thought of everything. Business school taking notes. Fourth, diversity hiring initiative. Each location must reflect the demographics of its community within 6 months. How do we ensure that? Marcus asked. Partnership with local community organizations, historically black colleges, Latino business associations, Asian American chambers of commerce. We actively recruit from underrepresented groups. Margaret Carter's voice came through clearly. What about the financial impact on individual locations? Each restaurant gets a $10,000 annual budget for community outreach and hiring initiatives. ROI projections show increased customer loyalty and market share. Deshawn pulled up more data on his tablet. Restaurants with diverse staff see 12% higher customer satisfaction scores and 8% increased repeat business. Fifth, he continued, monthly community dialogue sessions. Each location hosts public discussions about inclusion, service, and community needs. Sarah looked intrigued. Like town halls? Exactly. Local residents, business leaders, community activists. We listen to concerns and adjust practices accordingly. The teenage live streamer was practically glowing. Chat, this man is literally changing the entire industry right now. Her viewer count had climbed back to 6,000 as word spread about the corporate reforms being announced live. Sixth, scholarship fund for hospitality students from underrepresented communities. $50,000 per year, renewable for 4 years. That's 200,000 per student, noted board member Patricia Williams, no relation. Investment in our industry's future, Deshawn replied. Recipients work part-time at our locations during school, full-time positions upon graduation. Marcus was taking detailed notes. When do these changes start? Today, right now. This conversation is being live-streamed and recorded. We're publicly committed. The board members conferred briefly before Margaret spoke. Motion to approve emergency policy implementation. All in favor? A chorus of aye came through the speaker. Seventh and final, Deshawn announced. This entire incident becomes mandatory training material. Every employee, every location, every level of management watches this video and discusses the lessons. He looked directly into the live stream camera. Real-life stories like this one teach better than any textbook. This becomes part of our corporate culture. The comments exploded. Using the drama for education. This is powerful. Other companies need to learn. The board meeting is adjourned, Margaret announced. Deshawn, handle the media response. We support these changes completely. As the call ended, Deshawn addressed his staff. Questions about the new policies? Sarah raised her hand. What happens to us during the transition? You keep your jobs, get additional training, and help create a restaurant that serves everyone with dignity. This is your chance to be part of something bigger. The live stream audience was witnessing corporate transformation in real time. The teenager filming looked emotional. Y'all, this is why I love Black stories. This man turned discrimination into systematic change. Reform had begun. 6 months later, the transformation was complete. Meridian Bistro had become a model of inclusive dining, featured in Harvard Business Review as a case study in crisis management and corporate responsibility. Deshawn stood in the same spot where he'd been refused service, now watching a diverse staff serve customers from every background. Marcus had been promoted to regional manager, overseeing diversity initiatives across 5 locations. The teenage girl who'd live-streamed the original incident, Zara Johnson, now worked part-time as the restaurant's social media coordinator while studying business at the local college. Her viral video had over 3 million views and launched her career in digital marketing. Mr. Williams, she said, approaching with her phone, it's the 6-month anniversary. Want to say something to the followers who've been supporting us? Deshawn smiled, remembering the quiet power that had changed everything. Of course. Zara started recording. The comments immediately began flowing. The legend is back. This man changed everything. Still getting chills. 6 months ago, Deshawn began, we witnessed what happens when discrimination meets accountability. But the real story isn't about one incident. It's about systematic change. He gestured around the bustling restaurant. Every employee here has completed bias training. Every customer can report concerns anonymously. Every hiring decision reflects our community's diversity. The transformation statistics were impressive. Customer satisfaction up 18%, employee retention up 23%, community engagement events hosted monthly. Jaden Brooks, Deshawn continued. Last I heard, he's working in a warehouse, still struggling to find employment in hospitality. Karen Martinez moved to another state, her management career effectively over. The comments showed no sympathy. Consequences. Actions have outcomes. That's what they get. But this isn't about revenge, Deshawn emphasized. It's about ensuring no one else experiences what I experienced that day. The scholarship program had funded 12 students. The community dialogue sessions had addressed everything from menu pricing to hiring practices. 3 other restaurant chains had adopted similar policies after witnessing the positive results. These touching stories, these real-life stories of discrimination and redemption, they matter because they create change, Deshawn said directly to the camera. Black stories like mine aren't just entertainment. They're lessons. They're proof that quiet strength conquers loud hatred. They're evidence that systematic problems require systematic solutions. Zara panned the camera across the dining room. Families of every background shared meals. Staff members wore pins supporting local community organizations. A banner announced the latest scholarship recipient. If you've experienced discrimination, Deshawn continued, document it, share it. Use your voice to demand better. And if you witness discrimination happening to others, speak up. Silence enables hatred. The live stream had reached 2,000 viewers. Comments poured in, sharing similar experiences, promising to speak up, thanking Deshawn for his courage. Subscribe to Black Soul Stories for more accounts like this one, Zara added professionally. Real experiences that inspire real change. Share your own stories in the comments, Deshawn concluded. Every voice matters. Every experience teaches. Every person deserves dignity. He paused, looking directly into the camera with the same calm authority that had transformed a moment of humiliation into a movement for justice. That's how we change the world, one story at a time. The live stream ended, but the impact continued. The comments section is filled with personal experiences, commitments to action, and gratitude for the courage to turn pain into purpose. Change was no longer coming. It had arrived.